Hello, beautiful soul. I am Claudia, and welcome to my podcast in which I am sharing love, light, and knowledge right from the source. I truly believe that there is a light in all of us, but sometimes we forget about it. We don't know how to get to it, and we just need a friendly reminder about how to get back to our spiritual home. And that is why I am creating this podcast, to remind you on how you can find your way back to living in line with your soul. All the guests in my podcast are sharing their unique ways, how they found their way back home, and I hope they will be an inspiration for you to find your own. Welcome to another episode of the podcast Light from the Source, and today it's very special because for the first time in my life I'm gonna have a live podcast. What I mean is that I'm actually sitting with these two amazing people in their house in Corsicana, Texas, and it's not for Zoom, which is a big congratulations for me, especially after post-pandemic times. So with who am I sitting? I'm sitting with Josh and Melinda, and they are yoga teachers here in Corsicana, and they are just amazing. I mean, they are just so inspiring because they are exactly what I wish for community and for people in the world, and especially now, to wake up, to understand how we actually want our life to be, and then take action steps and actually change our life. And this is exactly what Melinda and Josh did. They completely changed their lives, and I'm very happy to have them here with me and to be able to sit with them actually in the same room and to share the energy and to share with you the story of how it all started. So if maybe Josh, you want to start and you want to say a little bit about you, and then Melinda would say a little bit about herself, and then each one of you, I know who wants to tell the story of how it all started with you and your change.
Yeah, so my name is Josh. As Claudia said, I lived here in Corsicana for quite a while now, I think since I was born here and went to school here most of my life. Registered nurse. We decided to start this little yoga studio, what was it, last year? 2021. Yeah, so we got certified to teach yoga in 2019, finished that up in 2020. Of course, the pandemic happened. We were really unable to teach anyone because everything was kind of closed. And so eventually we started teaching little single classes, and, started this Self-Revolution Yoga, which is the studio that we own here in town. And that's pretty much it as far as kind of a little bit about me, but we can get into the deeper story.
Mm-hmm. And my name is Melinda, and I'm Josh's wife.
Correct.
Basically, a little bit about me is I went to school to be an occupational therapist. We work a lot with kids and elderly people with various different abilities, and just try and help them live the best quality of life after some type of a fall or illness or what have you, whatever is going on with them. That story, or that job in and of itself, was not just a job for me. It was actually felt like a calling at the time, but lots of the insurance issues as far as reimbursement or being able to see the people who needed more care took a turn for the worst, unfortunately, and I was no longer able to do that career. And so my vision kind of turned through to yoga, actually through Josh, who really kind of introduced it to me in full, and we just kind of went from there. That's where the story begins.
We got certified, and from that point,
Yeah.
Okay, so now do you want to go with the nitty-gritty?
Okay, we can jump right in.
So maybe explain how your lives looked like, and then what was the stop point when you were like, oh my God, what are we doing with our lives? And then how it looks now.
Okay, yeah, so as she was saying, she's in the medical field, occupational therapy. I was a registered nurse, still am a registered nurse. So we basically, when we first met each other, Melinda and I, was back in 2007. She immediately started going to school in college and for, I think, nursing at first, and then you transitioned into occupational therapy. I was a high school dropout, didn't complete high school, so she, just being with her, encouraged me to get my diploma, finish school, and then she said, well, why don't you start college? And I thought that was silly. I was like, okay, well, I can't go to college. I didn't even finish, high school. And she encouraged me. I went to finish my high school stuff. I went to college and enrolled in nursing school, of all things. So it's kind of where it was. So I guess fast forward to the end of school, we both graduate. We're both working our jobs. We do what everyone does, or what we thought everyone does, which was just, we're making a lot of money. We're two newly, not newly, we've been together 4 or 5 years at that point. Starting to make a lot of money. We just blew it all. We got no kids at the time. We blew it all on houses and a house and several cars and just everything that one could buy. We didn't have, being poor college students or just poor kids in general. It's like we had the world at our hands. So we acquired all this stuff. All right. That's when our niece was born. Circumstances happened where we actually ended up taking on custody of our niece. So now we have all of this stuff, but the new added element of having another life that's fully dependent on us. That is, I think, what the catalyst was for me, because suddenly I started having massive anxiety attacks, panic attacks, all the time, just depression, anxiety, and it was overwhelming. So that, of course, the stress of nursing in an emergency room just built and built and built and got to a point to where I just cracked, I guess. And it became very obvious, like, okay, well, what if I can't work? How do I take care of my family? How do I maintain this life? We have all this stuff that we have to pay for now. And the debt was high, and it was like, what if anything happens?
Yeah, we also weren't feeling very good physically. We were very, very overweight
Severely
at the time,
overweight,
having a hard time even just breathing. So now taking on a 3-year-old who can outrun us at the time was terrifying.
Yeah,
We were just thinking of the worst things happening all the time, and are we going to be good enough for her? Things happen in our childhood. Are we going to catch it before it happens to her? Just thinking ahead on all of this stuff that hasn't even happened yet, causing all this turmoil and anxiety.
Not just that, but with the poor health. I mean, the way we were with each other, our relationship probably suffered because, we were angry, we were anxious, we were out of shape. It's just had a lot of money.
Yeah, we were disconnected from each other as well.
But money doesn't equate to happiness, I suppose.
No, it doesn't.
And do you want to share how much you weighed?
Sure.
Because I cannot imagine that.
Well, I have pictures if you would like to see, Claudia. And we
too.
can link before and after pictures to the show notes or something. I was 325 pounds in nursing school when I graduated.
Oh, wow.
And I don't want to even assume what your highest weight was.
I believe my highest was 287. I believe I got even higher than that. When I was 287, I was like, okay, girl, you got to get this under control.
Yeah.
So,
but there's a long, windy road before we actually get to...
Yeah.
We knew we had to get it under control, but it was another decade before we got it under control.
Yeah, before we...
Almost a decade, I'll say that. Mm-hmm. So when we get to this point where all of this stuff kind of comes to a head, all the stress, new family situation, our daughter enters the picture, and as I said, stress. It got to a point where I could barely leave the house because the anxiety was just overwhelming. That's when her aunt and her uncle, who happened to own a yoga studio in the town that we lived in, they actually allowed me to come and take some free classes with them. And that's kind of where it started for me, taking some of their classes. Of course, I think I went 3 or 4 times. It was hot yoga. I didn't understand how yoga was going to fix my problems. I thought, okay, now I'm sad, but I'm more flexible. Like, congratulations, I guess. Like, how's this fix my damn problem? But I didn't understand the deeper side of it until much later. But I think I went 2 or 3 times and was like, okay, whatever. And then I saw a therapist, got back on the right track, but of course it only took a year or two before it reared its head again, and this time was worse. We had some relationship issues, even more so. Another kid to the mix, so things were just more and more stressful. And that's when I think I finally said, I have to do something. Everyone keeps saying yoga. So more so than being able to bend over and touch my toes, like, let's see what else I can get into. And that's when I truly took the dive into yoga. It was around 2018. I think November 2018, something like that. Started going consistently, about 2 or 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. Got into the lifestyle, started meeting some cool people, started begging my wife to show up. And I'll let you kind of...
Yeah, and you had been going...
And this was your family.
Okay, yeah, so the yoga studio owners, they actually owned 4 at the time, and they had been telling me most of my life, like, why don't you come? We would love for you to come to our space, and just come in, you'll fit right in and everything, just encouraging me. And I was just like, no, I'm too fat, I'm too weird, I don't fit in, whatever, I can't do this. But I saw my husband, who was overweight, he was feeling like crap all the time. He was going 2 times a week, sometimes maybe even more than that. I started to notice a huge change in him. Like when he was having these anxiety attacks and when he was feeling bad, you can see it physically manifest in a person, especially someone that you're familiar with. You can see them falling apart even if from the inside, at least with him. I could notice this. And
she knew my signs. Other people I could hide.
Yeah.
But she knew.
I noticed this huge change in him. He was slower to anger. He would get angry with himself a lot if he said something out of line in his own head, or if something didn't go exactly how he wanted. Every single time he would have this huge blow up, maybe not even directed at us, but it would affect the energy, and it would kind of pull the whole day down. I noticed he wasn't doing this as often, and I noticed the more that he would go to yoga, the more that he would step back. When something would trigger him, he would step back and he would just pause. And I remember noticing it for the first time, and I just looked at him like, what the hell is he doing? Like he literally I was expecting him to respond because I was used to him reacting to the stimulus, and he didn't. He stepped back from it and like observed his feelings about the situation, and then he calmly proceeded to tell me whatever the next step was in the argument. I don't remember what the argument was or what the trigger was.
There was so many.
There were so many. But just the fact that I was bracing for this blow up and it didn't happen. Like it just took the air out. It sounds weird to say, but I was almost kind of disappointed because I was bracing for that verbal or energetic impact, and it didn't happen how I was expecting. So I was in my head thinking later in that day, later in that week, okay, what's changed? What is the only thing that's changed? You hadn't really, had you already changed the way you were eating and stuff yet?
No, not at this point. It was a full year.
It was really just yoga. It was really just him being more mindful of what his triggers were. And then him being able to ground himself in the moment, learning those steps through yoga, through different things that he learned in therapy. And
it was a breath.
Yeah, that awareness.
It was taking a breath and being still for a moment, but
it was so important. I think a lot of people come into our classes, and I know I certainly came into my first class thinking, oh, well, maybe I'll lose weight. I'll get my body moving. I'll get my heart rate up. I'm going to exercise and sweat, and I'll feel good. And I did. And after the first several sessions, I didn't feel great in the beginning, but I gained that confidence. And I think that I started to see that in him, and I said in my head, I want that now. Yeah. I think I'm ready for that now. And you can't You can bring a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. They have to do it.
I begged you for a long time.
He really did. My aunt and uncle begged for years, decades.
So I want everyone that knows Melinda to know, especially from the studio, as much as she loves yoga now, there was a point where I could not get that girl in a studio. Yeah.
Once I got there, I realized
you were home.
These people don't give a crap
about how you look.
They're over here with their sweat and their messy bun, and maybe they got a roll hanging out, or maybe they've got their whole butt in the air. No one is looking at you for the most part.
People all in our own practice.
In their own practice on their own mat. And so that's what I really try to drive home to our students is that, yes, the teacher will be looking at you, making sure everything's okay, checking in on you and stuff, but everyone else on their mat, they're just here to do their own practice.
We're just trying to make it.
We're just trying to make it, trying to be mindful and trying to move through the postures and things like that. And
so that was, we both got in that way. And I think for our 10-year anniversary, at this point, we had been married for 10 years. And I was like, okay, maybe we do the yoga teacher training together. We both get certified to teach yoga. Because at this point, I think we were doing yoga together for a good year or so, And we were listening to all these podcasts, and we started getting deeper into our spirituality, or just mindfulness, or Buddhism, or just whatever it is that we were anything and everything, just soaking it in.
Felt like sponges at that time. We're ready to receive this information, and would genuinely be excited about learning something new. There's so much.
And her aunt and uncle put on bi-yearly or something yoga teacher training sessions at their studio, and so we jumped on it. For our 10-year anniversary, almost to the day, we started, our yoga teacher training, and here we are.
Yeah.
Got certified officially in 2020 and started the studio. So before that, let's go back, because we were still overweight and we hadn't even started talking about that. So in 2019, this is just before we started yoga teacher training, but we'd been going to the studio for a good year or so. I think May of 2019, I started reading these books, and it was this book about this guy who had lost an incredible amount of weight, went on to become this Navy SEAL and everything like that. And it just was super inspiring to me. And so that, with a lot of the ideas that I learned from yoga, is okay, I have to make a change now, because it's I'm going to get diabetes. I know from a nurse what it's like. You don't get to be 325 pounds and live a long life. It's just not in the cards for you.
Well, I will intercede here, because maybe some person could live longer, but that wasn't in the cards for us. We felt like absolute crap.
I already felt terrible. I was 33 or something, and I already felt horrible every day. Every day was painful to wake up. My knees hurt, my back hurt, I was depressed, I was crying all the time. It was
no quality.
And then I still had 2 people to raise,
right,
and a wife to try to be decent to. So so that's when I just started okay, I'm gonna really stick to this, and I just started eating healthy. Melinda started eating healthy, and she actually started losing weight faster than I remember. You lost your first 20 pounds, and I was so jealous. You were like, I'm 20 pounds down, and I was like, shit, I haven't lost anything. And that's when I was just like, okay, it's like a little mini competition. I guess that's that little competitive edge coming out. And I was like, okay, so I'm just sticking to it, and I'm counting my calories, and I'm making sure I eat healthy. And gosh, man, a month turned into 2, and then 3, and then 6, and then before you know it, we've both just dropped so much weight, and we've maintained it over the last. It's been going on 3 years. It's going on 3 years since we started losing weight. Yeah,
I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's coming up this month.
That's nuts.
Maintain.
Pat myself on the back real quick.
Yes, that's amazing.
So that's that. Yeah, and then everything's behind us at that point. We got certified. Pandemic hit. Couldn't teach. We started teaching at a local gym, teaching yoga. Decided we couldn't teach the type and amount of classes that we wanted to teach, just kind of due to certain restrictions. So we just started our own place. If we can't find it, we'll just make it. And that's kind of what we did.
We'll make our own opportunity.
Because we just wanted to teach and give people what we found. So we thought, even if one person shows up, or if 100 people show up, we can help someone change their life. One yoga pose, one breath at a time, right?
Yeah.
There we go.
So true.
Oh, that's so beautifully said. Oh, I'm so happy. And especially in Corsicana, I think this is such a small town, and just your yoga studio is just like a perfect yoga studio where you go and you can have like your morning classes or the evening ones, which I don't usually attend, but
especially if you have a little dinner before you arrive. Yes.
But this is like exactly what you said, that yoga is not about just the poses, it's actually something much more. It's the breath that you're taking. It's the stop before like you make a big fight. You're just stopping, you're reflecting about what you're doing, and you're like not in this automatic mode. And it actually can change your life. Of course, there's other options. There's like meditation, but lately I've been very drawn to like yoga and to like body movement, because I can see that in spiritual world there's sometimes these people who say like, oh, I'm not my body, I'm just gonna leave my body, I'm not my body. I'm like, bullshit. Like, you are your body. I mean, you cannot just disconnect. I mean, you can try.
Maybe for a time, maybe for a time you become so in the zone for a second or two, but for how long?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that practical?
Yes.
Can I do that at my job?
Exactly. At the end, we are here on planet Earth, and we're not somewhere over there, and we're not in our minds. We are here in the body, and it's actually the anchor that is like keeping us to the ground.
Yeah.
Plus, our body like keeps the score. Like it knows everything about us. And sometimes, for example, we don't know what's happening, but our throat chakra is just like killing us.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, you didn't say something. So our body is giving us signals. Like if something is happening in the body, you just have to look at it. Like, what's the root cause? What happened there? And yoga, I think it can help us to go back to our body and not run away from it. And like for me, meditation for a long time, it was running away from my body. So I was just like going to meditation, and then I'm somewhere over there, and then like, body. Well, it's just body. Well, no, like you're the body. Like you're not just something there. You're not just the soul. If you wanted to be just the soul, you would be just in the in the
just
sky,
floating around.
You're just floating around. You wanted to experience this body.
That's it.
So I wanted to share. Yes.
And I'm glad you said running away, because that's what I feel like a lot of it is like, okay, well, I can use even like a drug or something, or and I can use that to elevate my consciousness and run it. But that's kind of running away a little bit from them. Sure, there may be some insight there through the visions that you receive, but you still have to come back home, and you still have to apply those messages, and you still have to turn that knowledge into wisdom. You have to still live it. I mean,
exactly.
Otherwise, it's like, this isn't going to help me at work when I have to be on my game. I can't just leave the body. I can't just float away. I have to be in the moment. When I have an argument or I feel a certain way, I can't just, you know what? We're not doing this. I'm leaving and fly away. I have to be present. I have to address the situation. Things require your attention. You can't just run off. Yeah. So I think yoga does that, because what is yoga? Firstly, a lot of people think it's just the poses, but that's actually just one of the limbs. There's several different, it's a lifestyle in many different ways. We won't get into all of it, but the yoga that people see now, that's really just the movement side of yoga, and that's just one of the limbs. So, but what do we do in that? We're moving. They're hard poses. We're holding. They're uncomfortable. Life is uncomfortable. What are we doing? We're noticing. We're breathing. We're working through. We're not just that snap reaction is, I want out of here. I want out of this damn pose. Okay, if it's painful, get out. Sure.
Or do a modification.
Or do a modification.
There you go.
That's it. But even you modify in life as well, right? I mean, in a certain way, you modify. Maybe you change your position in life. You do a certain thing. But can you take a breath? Do I have to move? Do I have to react? Or can I take a breath? Can I be in this moment for just another second?
Oh my God, you're saying this and you're looking at me, and I'm thinking today at yoga classes, I didn't stay in the pose, and I just like completely like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I did it for like 15 seconds, and like, I don't do it anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
But you didn't run out the door though.
But you did kind of quit, didn't you? No.
I did. But now I'm thinking, oh my God, he's saying that to me.
No. I'm saying it to you. But it's true. I mean, we get put in these uncomfortable situations in yoga, and this is just another anchor, just another tool to practice what we're actually practicing, which is life. Can I be present? Can I breathe? What's real? What's happening right now? And that's really what matters, is right now.
Yes. Oh, I love it. Oh, that's so important. So important. The body and being in it. And I wanted also to ask about the changes that you're having now, because now you just quitted sugar at all, and you even went on a more healthier way of eating. And do you want to say more about it?
I think Josh initially started out with the keto diet,
which is not super recommended.
Yeah,
I mean, to lose weight quickly, sure, but it's not sustainable, in my opinion.
I'll share what I saw. So when I would see Josh come in from a run after he had been doing keto for a little while, this is like a diet with like super high fat content, low carb. So he was just getting into running, and he would come in from 1 mile or something?
No more than 3.
He would come in and he just looked gray. Like, he just looked like he was literally dying. He looked terrible.
I had no energy. Like, I knew it was good for losing weight, and it helped me lose weight, but when I got into endurance sports or like running or anything, like, I realized quickly I was zapped for energy. I had nothing in the tank.
I'm not saying that keto can't work for someone.
Maybe it can.
Just like anything in life.
Didn't work for me.
It could work for someone, but something that had carbs in it worked a lot better for him. And so much later, after we had been off the rails for a while with our diet.
Well, we lost all of the weight, and we've done about, I took it another 6 or 7 months on keto after I lost, just kind of maintaining my weight because I was happy with where I was. And then I switched back to carbs because I knew, like, well, I want to run a marathon. I want to do this or that, and I'm going to need carbs. So I switched back, and now it's just kind of been eating willy-nilly. We eat healthy, but it's still some sugar, a lot of processed food, a lot of stuff. Technically, we're not gaining any weight or like doing anything, to ruin our body, but it's
starting to feel like shit again.
Like,
really.
Can we clean this up more? Because, I mean, sure, this is fine what we're eating, but I mean, I don't know. There's so many things in our food that we think it's fine, and it's like it leads to inflammation in the body or upsets your stomach or your gut biome, and leads to, I don't know, high cholesterol. It's like, am I really making the best choice food wise? Not for weight or anything like that, but like my arteries, diabetes, long-term life, what's the most natural diet? And so we kind of landed on the paleo. At least I'll say, what do we call it today? Mostly paleo.
Yeah, we go off track once a week and just eat whatever. I mean, I guess it doesn't have to be considered off track, but just not strict paleo.
Yeah, you can have that pleasure food in moderation, but that's not to say, like, say we cheat on a Sunday or have that one meal on a Sunday. That's not to say that on a Wednesday, if I'm somewhere, I won't have a little squirt of stevia or something in my coffee, or I won't have a little bite of cake. I think you start to get on a crazy slippery slope if you get that rigid.
Yeah.
But
for me, it wasn't
paleo.
like
How about that?
The change wasn't like a fad or like I'm just going to do this to lose weight or whatever. It was like
I've already lost enough weight, quite frankly.
It was an issue of, I just feel like crap all the time.
Yeah.
And also my dad just passed away of colon cancer, and a lot of the root causes of that can be linked to poor diet, high fat, too low fiber, and just not being mindful of what you're eating. Because my dad, he didn't look unhealthy. He looked like a very healthy person.
Yeah, very fit.
But to know that, the reason why he's dead could be largely caused by what he ate really triggered me in my mind to say, you need to get this under control, girl. Like, you feel like crap all the time, and you don't have to live that way. Like, you deserve a quality of life. And once I accepted that, I really fully came around to the idea of, I don't call it cheat. I don't even want to cheat. Like, the last time I had milk, it just tasted like a cup full of salt. But then when I ate cashews for the first time after I hadn't had any sweetener, they tasted sweet. So I'm starting to taste these robust
like reset your palate a little
again.
Bit,
these robust flavors and these items that, I mean, I would have just shoveled them in, but not really tasted them, not have been mindful.
Even our coffee, like I was saying earlier, we thought we were addicted to coffee, but what we were actually addicted to was all the milk and the sugar in the coffee.
The milkshake.
Yeah, it was like basically drinking a milkshake. But you know what? We've discovered what actual good black coffee tastes like, and we've entered into that cool little world. So that's
Yeah, so even quality in the things that we're eating now, just trying to be
the best quality.
mindful.
That's right. Yeah, the best quality food that we can do to the best of our ability. Of course, there's certain limitations that you're going to have. Maybe you don't have access, or maybe financially it's a barrier, but you just do the best you can. If all you can afford is XYZ, then you just do the best you can. But what you can always do is make the decision to maybe not do so much bread, or maybe not do so much processed stuff. You can make certain little omissions without, going too overboard.
So we can start to see the yoga lifestyle is starting to infiltrate the rest of our lives. So we would hear oftentimes in classes from our yoga teachers, or even during training, like, it's okay, just do your best. If you need to take a break, take a break.
Yeah, there you go.
But the idea of it's okay, just do your best.
How about it's a diet modification like in yoga?
Yes.
How about, we're paleo, but our modification, our dropping the knee down instead is having a little sugar today. That's our modification.
Yeah, so if I'm doing my best, then maybe, in my diet I'm feeling better. Like, it's going to show through in the rest of my life. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to put that pressure on myself. But the fact that I'm on this paleo lifestyle, which I'm not saying anybody like you should do paleo or whatever. It's literally just working for my gut. Like, I don't look like I'm 6 months pregnant anymore, because that's how it happened for me.
It might be something else. There might be a certain aspect of this lifestyle that we wish to omit or add or subtract, or maybe there's something else that we're like, this actually works better. But right here, right now,
so
this is where we are.
Like in a class where, like we tell our students, we're allowing our own selves to pivot in different ways in our lives, and it's really been a complete life-changing experience for both of us. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So it can all come back to what we talk about. That's what we say, yoga is life. It's really sounds kind of hokey, but I mean, you will truly find yourself applying these principles that we teach in class just from a simple posture and a cue, applying to your day-to-day life, like a diet modification. Like, that just came to me, but I mean, that's super true. I mean,
I had this insight a few years ago when I was practicing Qigong, that actually it's not important what we practice. If we practice yoga, Qigong, Tai Chi, any kind of sport, it doesn't matter, but it matters because all this, let's call it ancient kind of movement, they always have this deeper knowledge hidden in them. So for example, with the modification, you can apply it in a different area of your life. And it's the same with the Qigong. Like, you have some movement, and then you think about them when actually you're making food or you're talking to somebody, and you're like, oh, I can apply it as well. And then my life is just so much better. So it doesn't matter what you practice, but just like put some actually thought into what you're doing and not just being so automatic. And I love what Melinda said about exactly modification and doing your best. And if you just cannot do, just let yourself go. Because I was on the other opposite. I was just like, I have to be perfect. I have to do everything as it said. If I would be on a paleo
yeah.
Paleo, my modification, and paleo diet, I would just probably be like, none even 1 milligram of something that is not allowed, and I would just kill myself to the point that I would just starve myself or do something that, well, I cannot. So having this kind of insight that, oh, actually I'm doing the best that I can, even though maybe I don't have all the resources, but I know what I can do now, I'm doing my best.
Absolutely.
And there may be a day where you're just going to break and you're just going to go in there and have a bag of chips. And that might just be the situation. But, if you're so rigid, I think you're doomed to fail ultimately, because you're going to break. We're not going to be perfect. So you can do it as hardcore as you want to be, but eventually I guess you're going to break. And then you're going to go way off the rails. And,
I think when you have that super rigid mindset that you use things like going off the rails, which we're so used to having that super rigid mindset that which we're working hard to get away from. But sometimes that vocabulary does sneak back, and then you have to notice that and then check yourself and be like, okay, maybe I'm not cheating to have a slice of cake. I'm just going to have the damn slice of cake.
Yeah.
But yoga, taking these classes, were really driving home the fact that when you're in your, say, warrior two pose, your legs are strong, pushing from front to back, your breath is a certain way, your arms are up, like where is your mind in this moment? And so you're really trying to embody the full posture and bring all of those elements in together, but you can also bring that into your diet in a way of, if I'm eating, a quarter of a cake or half of a cake, I feel that. I'm in tune with my body now. I'm understanding that this is going to make me feel like crap, and you start to notice a lot quicker. Once you have had that consistent practice, you start to really notice how things are affecting you physically, and then mentally, and then spiritually. And that's kind of how yoga has helped me, in that it's helped me to zoom in on certain parts of myself so that I can zoom out and see the bigger picture. And it makes more sense to me now.
And I think even with that in mind, like with the diet, but also like paying attention to all the little mundane things. So I'm not suggesting that you're going to be mindful the entire day, but maybe when you're washing the dishes, it pops into your mind, okay, the bubbles on my skin, the way the water feels, the warmth. Even if it's for 3 seconds, you can you can feel that when you're looking into someone's eyes, mm-hmm. and you can feel the love. Yeah. You can see the human back there. You can see the consciousness. How about that? You can actually feel that energy. A lot of the time people may talk to you and it's just nothing there, but there's a step more, being in that moment.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that. You're in traffic. I always say that when you're stuck in traffic, you could be angry, or you could feel the steering wheel. You could notice the sunset,
mm-hmm.
All of these little things, just being in the moment and noticing. It's all just freaking yoga, isn't it? So that's what I'll always say. You don't have to be on a mat in a room full of yogis to do this. You can truly just take a breath at your desk, at work, feel your armchair, mm-hmm. ground, just for a moment. Sometimes that's all you need to reset.
Mm. And I have a question regarding the initial story of how you suddenly decided, okay, that's it, we are changing our lifetime. Because that was Josh, right? Who you decided to go to yoga classes. That was the edge.
It all came to a head with the nursing and the houses and the cars, yeah.
And do you remember the day that you decided, okay, I have enough, I'm gonna go for yoga, I'm gonna change something? Or was there this one thing that inspired you, ignite you?
I think, like I said, okay, so we had all this debt from just having a house. And so I felt trapped to have to work all the time, mm-hmm. just to have enough money to pay for the house and the bills and the cars, and then the children on top of it. And so I think all of that, and I think without getting too deep into it, we just had some relationship issues. And I was just depressed and crying, and it was hard to make it through the day, or it was even harder to sleep at night when I needed to sleep, because I would wake up and I'd be upset, and then she would have to chat with me, but she had her own problems. And so that's when it was just enough is enough. I know enough from listening to the podcasts that I've listened to, talking to her aunt and uncle, and just kind of seeing their Instagram. And then just the normal hokey yoga stuff that you'll see that you're just kind of whatever. But then I started thinking it makes sense though, doesn't it? Some of it kind of makes sense if you just listen to it on a deeper level, take it a step deeper. And then that's when I was like, forget it, dude. I'm just going to go to you. At worst, I just get some good exercise, which I needed anyway at the time. So I was like, if nothing else, I'm going to go over there and sweat my ass off in this yoga studio, and we'll see what happens. And just manifested, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then of course I saw his energy change and things change for him. So again, I said, I want some of that. So
when you saw the effects.
Yeah, I was like, I think I'm into that. Let's go. And so when I walked in, you know, there's people who like just have this straight face and they don't even make eye contact with you or whatever. So there's those types of people. There's the people who are like, oh, you know, want to meet you and introduce themselves, but no matter if the person was like worried about their own self on their mat, not making eye contact, or if the person was like wanting to talk to you or chat or be super bubbly, the whole collective energy in the room was magnetic. It was just
you
like
it
really
there.
drew you in, and it just, I don't know, it just made my heart happy. Like it just made me feel like, I don't know, like my heart was just more open. Open heart, open mind is just kind of what I started to feel. And so that made me want to come more. Mm-hmm. And not as much as Josh, but
I couldn't wait for yoga days. I had specific days that I could go. I couldn't wait for yoga days. I couldn't wait to get in the car the whole day leading up to it. I couldn't wait to go. I couldn't wait to go in the studio. I knew I was going to say hi to Stacy. If you're listening, hi Stacy. Hey Dave. Couldn't wait to get my little spot on the mat.
Yes.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait to fall asleep in Savasana either.
Oh my gosh. They would put these little
ice
cold towels on top of your eyes. Oh, that was like heaven. It was my favorite part of
If for nothing else, dude, I came for the cold towels.
Yes.
And if you didn't get one by chance.
Oh, there was one time I had to practice yoga in my mind for sure. They forgot to give me a cold towel, and I wanted to throw a fit in yoga class, but it's like, do they not like me? Like, what's happening here?
Am
Like,
I invisible?
Yeah, like, hey.
I came here for something.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because you said about like you felt that your heart is just so open. Maybe it was like the community, like open heartness, like everybody was like having their heart more open. The vibration of the whole group was like on a different level. So, and your heart, like all our hearts wants to be open, and they want to be just like released from all the tension. So even when you get there, I said again, I think you're a really sensitive person. And
sure.
you could just feel it. Like some people don't feel it. And if you're listening to the podcast and you go to the yoga studio and you don't feel the heart openness, like maybe you don't feel it, but your soul feel it. Like on a deeper level, we all feel the vibration and the energy. But sometimes if we're very disconnected from our body, or if we're just like not naturally sensitive, ultra sensitive, as Mellinda is, then we don't feel it. But honestly, on a deeper level, and then you have somebody like Mellinda who says you that, like, yeah, I felt that the heart was opening. I think
sometimes it takes a couple, like 2 or 3 sessions for some people to just even feel comfortable. Like walking in the door is truly the hardest part sometimes. Just making yourself get in the car and walk through those doors.
Oh, yeah.
Because once you're in there, you'll feel okay, but it may take you a week or 2 of going before you start to open up. Mm-hmm. But inevitably, the people around you are going to start talking. They're going to start saying some things that kind of pique your interest. Mm-hmm. And then before you know it, you're going to be
someone always like
trying meditation or whatever it is. You're trying an essential oil or something. You're going to try something.
In our classes, I feel like someone is either cracking a joke or where, there's more...
sometimes me cracking the jokes. I can't.
I wouldn't say serious parts. There's more like, I don't know, where you're being mindful about your own practice, but then sometimes a person will break and the class will collectively laugh and just kind of like loosen up. Like, okay, this doesn't have to be over the top serious. Like, just take a breath, step back for a minute, and then jump back in. And I like that about our classes.
You can feel the energy. You can kind of sense when it's time and when it's time to let it just be the way it is. But
what also I forgot, and you also didn't mention that, like, I think one of the amazing parts when I met you for the first time, you said that, well, now you are homeschooling your kids. Mm-hmm. And I also felt like, wow, you're just left well-paid jobs, sell your house, move to a smaller town, and start homeschooling kids in order to spend with them more time. And I was like, wow, that's some action steps.
Yeah, it's, with the school systems, at least here in America, and I know you probably have some international folks listening, but it's like, it just felt like we would wake up in the morning, we would take our kid to school, At 8 o'clock, I would head off to work. She would head off to work. One of us would pick the kid up around 6 p.m. We had an after school program. So school let out at 3, and then she would be in this after school kid care program from 3 to like 6 when one of us could get over there to pick her up. We'd get her home around 6:30. And then by 7:30, 8 o'clock, she's in bed again. So we're truly, how much time am I spending with my kid? 2 hours a day?
Sometimes I was dropping her off even earlier. Like I think they opened at like 6:30. Sometimes I was dropping her off 6:30 a.m., not picking her up till 6:30
For 12
p.m.
hours, someone else is raising your kid for you.
And you have maybe an hour to get food in her belly, and then
she's asleep.
And then she's going to bed. So I just felt like that's not the life I want.
And
for
not
her.
just that, but it's so expensive just to put them in that situation. So it's like we're losing all this money. And we're more so than that, we're losing all this time that we'll never get to have with her back. Yeah. It'll just be all gone. It's like, you know what? I would rather just take the loss on the money. I would rather just do whatever we have to do to spend time,
Yeah, I just remember, like, my mom later in my life, like, after I was already adult, she would say, one of my biggest regrets is not spending more time with you kids and always working so much. I felt like I had to provide this life that I felt was good enough for you two, my sister and I, and I lost time with y'all, and I feel like I gave up that time to work for people who don't care about me or my family, and it's not like it got us so far.
You're selling your life away.
Yeah, it just got us far away from each other. So I tried to take the knowledge that she had gained over all of those years, and I tried to apply that to my life. And I said, I'm doing the same thing that she just told me, that she regrets, one of the biggest life regrets, if she were to die at this moment, that was the biggest regret of her life, is that she didn't spend more time with us. And so I just took it and ran with it, and Josh agreed, and he has been such a trooper all these years, providing for our family.
I never stopped working.
He never stopped working, but he helped me be able to stay home with the kids. How many years has it been now? It's been
our son is 5, so it's going on 6 years. But it's worth living in a smaller town and living well below your means, so that you can live the quality of life that you want to live. So what does that mean? Being in the same room as my children, not missing the moments. Because I won't get these moments back. There will be a time where they're not going to want to hang out with me. But right now, they can't wait to see me. They can't wait to play with me. And you know what I'm going to get to say is, every one of those moments, at least for you, the greatest gift I can ever say that I've helped you with is, you got to have all of those moments.
Yeah.
You know, for the first 5 of our son's life, you were there for all of it. Yeah. You didn't miss a beat.
No, I didn't.
No one can ever take that from you.
No.
So, and that's more than any freaking car or house or piece of clothing or stupid little gadget that you won't care about in a year. It's more. That's worth more than all of it together. So,
yeah. I agree with that. After we had our son, he was so little. I think he was like 3 months when I had decided to go back to work. Like, oh, I got to make money. And I was in that mindset, I'm nothing if I'm not making money. Money. I'm worthless if I don't have a paycheck to bring in. That's my
conditioning
only worth.
That's the world we live in.
Like, when people ask you about yourself, for me, it was like, oh, I'm an occupational therapy assistant. That's who I am.
The first thing you do is always, what do you do when you meet someone? What do you do? What do you do for work?
Yeah.
As if that's the only stupid thing about you, yeah?
But that wasn't when we got our daughter, and then also when I gave birth myself, I realized, oh, like, I'm also like a complete badass. Like, I can do these things too, and I can do more than just my job. I'm an awesome mom, and I feel like I'm an awesome wife. I don't know if you feel that way.
debatable.
He said yes. She is a great wife.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes, I can see it in his eyes. Confirmed.
I've loved you for 15 years. Yeah, you're an exceptional wife.
Thank you. But yeah, so that's kind of where I forgot where I was going with that.
But just the homeschooling in general, that's the reasoning.
I was going to say I had what I believe, now it's not a doctor didn't say that I had it, but I feel like I had some type of postpartum depression. I went back to work after only 3 months of his life, and I was falling apart. I was unraveling every single day at every single patient's house. I worked home health at the time, so I was going into people's home after just having a breakdown in my car, and it was just miserable.
That's when we pulled the plug on that.
Yeah,
let's reevaluate our life.
Yeah,
let's downsize. Let's
just like I was seeing a big change in him, he noticed, something is up. Like, let's figure this out and change a few things, and then
not to mention in America, the healthcare system and society would just have you believe that 2 months with your child is an appropriate amount of time to go ahead and just start going right back into the workforce and start being a cog in the system for their stupid company that doesn't love you, and
And it's not gonna be on your deathbed with you.
Nope, and you just made them a bunch of money for scraps. Just so you can pay for all that shit in your life that you don't even really care about.
I think this is just horrendous that after 2 months is like a little baby. Like, I've never had a baby, but I know 2 months old baby is like a
fragile
baby.
Little thing. You're not even you're still in pain.
You're breastfeeding, or if you're doing that, or you're still trying to have that bonding experience, and not to mention that the dads
every night.
The dads don't even get really any time off of work at all. You had PTO at the time.
I think I took 2 weeks off.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I was right back in the fray. Yeah.
Well, and it's also looked down upon in our society. Like, you're
working.
lazy.
You mean, as a guy, it's
I went back at this time after my child. Like,
you need paternity leave? Oh, what kind of and it's like, bro, I just want to see my kid. My wife just went through this crazy experience of bringing a human into the world. Like, I want to be there. I want to help her. She can't sleep at night. Her freaking stomach's ripped apart. I want to be there more than I want to make this company money.
Did you have a new appreciation for me when you looked over the curtain when I was having my C-section?
That's a different podcast.
No. So he has a higher he had a higher respect for me after he saw that. That trauma.
I think people think their kids, like, going back to the lifestyle, I think people think their kids want and need a whole lot more than they actually do, when all they actually want is your attention.
Exactly. Attention, time, and love.
That's truly all they care about.
No kind of new toy, car, or anything.
They only care about that crap because you bought it for them.
Yeah, exactly. And you make them, they're conditioned to like them, because what I've lately been obsessing about is how we are conditioned to like or to laugh at different things. So, for example, when you were a kid, probably somebody would bring you a toy and they were like, look, amazing toy, laugh, or like make a smile. So you thought like, oh, new toy, and you added to like, okay, so I'm supposed to be happy with like when I get a new toy. So what you're expecting then after like getting new toys for like from 15 different people because you had second or maybe like fifth birthday, then you're like expecting, well, I'm only gonna be happy when I'm gonna get new things. But actually, if you would show your kids something different, like, don't be happy with a new toy, be happy because you're with me, because like I'm with you, I'm like holding you, I'm having quality with you. Then I think we'll like condition our kids to actually feel something and not just to be out for flashy things.
Yeah. And I think if you're gonna do like video games or tablets, if you're doing it with them and you're making it a moment between the two, maybe that's a more beneficial way to use that time. I like to do things like draw with my daughter. I like to draw with her, or I like to just play toys or play action figures or something with the boys. So it's just the little things like that. You don't have to just come here, let me hold and snuggle you. It can be like, hey, I bet I can beat you running down the hallway.
Yeah.
And then, or just any old thing. I bet I can do more flips than you. That's what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember that 15th stupid toy or tablet that you bought them, they won't even remember that next year. But I bet they remember that fishing trip.
Yeah, that's what I try to explain to the other people who are buying gifts for our kids and stuff. It's like, if you just absolutely have to buy something, like maybe an experience. Maybe let's go all together to the museum. Or if you're going to spend $100,
amazing.
like you can literally get a membership for the family at
The
one of the
science
big
museums,
museums
art
up
museum.
here for $100.
That's so
Botanical gardens.
And that's on and on experiences for the family. Like that's it's the present that gives and gives. So
For less than the price of a tablet, you and your family can go to the zoo if you want, if you believe it, all year long.
Yeah.
If you have time.
If,
Yes,
if
yes.
you have time and you're not working all your life and all your hours away.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we're gonna be wrapping up because I know we can talk for another. I already had like another questions and another topics, but it's already been an hour, and I know that time is very precious, as we just talked about. And I would rather people who are listening to this podcast spend another half an hour with their families, cherishing moments, or doing some yoga.
Wrap it up, guys. Wrap it up.
And I hope we inspired you with all the stories that has been shared here. So thank you very much for listening, and I wish you a lot of light and love. Guys, do you want to...
No, that's it. Thank you guys for listening. We're glad, hope we can be impactful in some way, and yeah, definitely feel free to reach out to us. I'm sure Claudia can link all of our little stuff, if you have any questions.
Yeah, what he said, I agree with all of that.
So actually, yes, your name on Instagram is Self Revolution Yoga, and it's also on Facebook. And you have yoga studio in Corsicana, Texas, if anybody would be there. And I have a feeling that this little couple will slowly but surely move somewhere. So be updated about it.
Correct.
Thank you for taking this time to listen to this episode, Sunshine. I hope it brought you some inspirational thoughts, and I highly recommend you write them down or share them with somebody. That's how it will not be lost in your thoughts, and the high vibration will stay with you for longer. If you want to get in touch with me regarding spirituality, or you would like to have an Akashic Records reading, find me on Instagram. Just type Light from the Source. I bless you with all the goodness and love.